أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ورضي الله تعالى عن سادة التابعين وعلماء العاملين وأئمة الأربعة المجتهدين ومقلديهم إلى يوم الدين أما بعد Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Alhamdulillah. We begin with the name of Allah, the most gracious and most merciful. We praise Allah, the Lord of the worlds, and send a complete peace and blessings upon our Master Muhammad and his family and his companions. May Allah be pleased with the elite from among the Tabi'een, the right acting scholars, the four Mujtahid Imams, and all of those who follow them until the day of judgment. Ameen. Alhamdulillah. This is our 92nd Black lesson, and we are in the middle of the book that you see on the screen, Beyond Bilal, which is, shameless plug, available on our website for purchase. Samira, can you please do the honors and post a link? Even though there's a link to the book in the description of this video, but nevertheless, won't hurt to put it in the comments as well. We're on page 98. And we are still in the section talking about how Islam got to and spread in West Africa. And he's really talking about the kingdoms or the empires. So, alhamdulillah. So, without belaboring the point anymore, Samira, you can begin, inshallah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم تسليما الحمد لله وكفى والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, I seek refuge in Allah from the rejected shaitan. May Allah bless our master, Sayyidina Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, his family, companions, and give them peace. All praise is due to Allah, for he is sufficient for us. Peace be upon his slaves, whom he has chosen, as to what follows. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everyone, and wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everyone that has given the greetings. Again, we're on page 98 of Beyond Bilal. Kenem Borno. The Kenem Borno Empire existed in areas that are now part of Niger, Cameroon, Chad, Libya, and northern Nigeria, and was established by the Kanuri ethnic group of northern Nigeria.
I should have prepared a proper picture for that, but let me see if I can share my screen. I have a tab open. There's a map on a Facebook page that I saw. Let me see if I can share it so you can get a visual. Can y'all see that? Samira, can you see that?
I see it, but it's not clear. Can you give it to me? Send it to me so I can clip it.
I ain't got to do all that. Hold on.
Okay.
That better?
Mm. Yeah, I guess.
So if you go back to what he just said, Canon Borno Empire existed in the areas that are now part of Niger, Cameroon, Chad, Libya, and northern Nigeria. And you can see that right there.
Continue.
Yes.
Bismillah. According to the Gurjam, a royal chronicle of the Kenem Empire, written in Arabic that provides the names of 69 rulers of Kenem Brno Empire, Brno alongside the length of their reigns and the major events that marked them. The first kingdom in Kenem was Duguwa dynasty, established around 692 by Susam. And Islam first appeared in the region during the reign of Mune in 835 through 893.
We need to pause right there. Number one, these years that he has given is CE. So it is not Hijri dates. So just to give you some, you know, a little bit more clarity, like we in our normal classes, we're in Sirah, right? The Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is going to leave this realm in 632 or 633, right? And then you're going to have a period of the rightly guided caliphs, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, and Hassan, for exactly 30 years. So that's 663, right? And then after that, I forget how many years, but the Umayyad Khilafat or Empire. Then after them, the Abbasid Empire, right? During uh, Islam enters Spain, Al Andalus, in the year 711, right? And then he says, and Islam first appeared in the region during the reign of Mune in 835 through 893. Now I was looking in one of these books that I have, and so you basically that the same time that Islam is established in the areas that we are a little bit more familiar with, the ones that people talk about a lot, Islam is also growing in this area, the area that people don't talk about. Like I looked in this book that I like, I have a chronology of Islamic history, 570 through 1000 CE. And they have uh, in the year 894, outbreak of rebellion in Spain by Ibn Hafsan, excuse me. So Islam is in Spain, and I was just like looking in the years before that. Like for example, a popular revolt is the revolt of the Zenj, right? That was 882 through 883. So in all this time that Islam is established in all these other areas, it's also getting established in Black Africa. We don't hear about it. So I just wanted to all of these dates in this section, they are CE. They're not Hijri calendar. So it's not something very recent. It's ancient. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Bismillah. The kingdom continued to flourish until the reign of Samir Agha Abdul Jalil, the 11th king, who was the first truly Muslim king of the Dugawa dynasty and ruled from 1081 until 1085, when he was overthrown by Humayr, the first Muslim king of the Sifua dynasty.
So the first Muslim king ruler that they actually had is in the 11th century, as he said, 10, 11th century, not Hijri, but 11th century Gregorian, 1081 to 1085. Go ahead. So how many years ago was that? Uh, that's almost 1,000 years, right?
About 938 years.
So you have a Muslim empire, kingdom, dynasties in Black Africa existing for about 1,000 years. And Muslims already there before any of their rulers became Muslim. Because remember, in Islam, that the hukum or the legal ruling of a place is based upon the legal ruling of the ruler. So if the ruler is a Muslim, then the place is considered Dar al Islam. And if the ruler is not Muslim, the place is not considered Dar al Islam. We don't in in Islamic legal, technically speaking, we don't do what we do now. Like, it's 80% Muslim, so it's a Muslim country. It don't work like that. You judge if that place is a quote unquote Muslim country or Dar al Islam based upon the ruler. And of course, there's details after that, but you get the point. Continue.
Bismillah. The Safur dynasty of Muslim monarchs, whose official title was May, reached their first peak during the reign of May Dunama Dabalemi in 1210 through 1259. Dabalemi initiated diplomatic exchanges with Muslim leaders across North Africa, establishing embassies in these countries in order to ease diplomatic relations with the wider Muslim world. Ibn Khaldun describes him as king of Kenem and lord of Bornu, and alluded to his widespread fame in the Arab world. Undoubtedly, that fame was partly owed to a pattern of extravagant diplomacy, including the gifting of a giraffe to the Hafsid king in Tunisia and the establishment of the Madrasa of Al Rashid in Cairo to facilitate pilgrimage to Mecca for his subjects from West Africa.
So this is a theme that we've been seeing ever since we've been reading in this book about Muslim rulers and whenever they interacted or with the Arab Muslim world or the Berber Muslim world or they made Hajj, you see that whenever they came through, they always established something for the Black Africans whenever they made Hajj. So they have a place to stay, so they will be good. You're going to see that even some more in the next paragraph. And just to answer Zakaria, she says, so Islam was there a little over 200 years before the rulers became Muslim, correct? Alhamdulillah. Continue.
Bismillah. In the 14th century, the seat of the kingdom was transferred from Kenem in modern day Chad to Bornu in modern day Nigeria, where the empire would reach a second peak under the reign of Mai Idris Oluma in 1570. Idris succeeded.
So, does anybody remember the year? Remember I think last week we were talking about the fall of the Songhai Empire. Anybody remember what year that was when the Moroccans attacked the Songhai Empire? So as you can see, you have kingdoms and empires that are operating, functioning simultaneously to other ones. So nobody knows. So that was, I forget the exact years. It was either 1591 or 1592 or something like that, CE, that the Moroccans attacked the Songhai Empire. So you can see this kingdom reached the second peak under May Idris Aluma in 1570. So this is during the time of the Songhai Empire. Go ahead.
Bismillah. Idris succeeded his sister, Aisha Qoli, who served as the queen regent after the death of their father. Queen Aisha ruled for 7 years, which was the stipulated term for all rulers, as the custom was that a monarch does not reign for life, but only for a fixed period of time. When her term ended, she was informed of the existence of her half brother, a young Idris, only 12 years of age at the time. She crowned him her successor and continued as his advisor for the first 4 years of his reign. He was an illustrious ruler who maintained diplomatic relations with other Muslim rulers such as the Pasha of Tripoli, the rulers of Egypt, and Sultan Murad III of the Ottoman Empire, the latter of whom sent a 200-member ambassadorial party across the desert to Aluma's court at Gazari Gamu in modern-day Yobe State, Nigeria. Idris also founded scores of masjids and schools in his kingdom, and while making pilgrimage to Mecca, established a hostel for the subjects of his kingdom to shelter them during their pilgrimage, just as Askia Muhammad Torre of Shanghai had done.
See, once again, him making Hajj and establishing a hostel, a hotel, a spot where they can rest for all of the other Black African Muslims who want to come through and make Hajj. Go ahead.
Bismillah. The Safua dynasty continued to rule until 1806, making them one of the longest lasting kingdoms in West African history, until they were deposed by an Islamic scholar named Muhammad al-Amin al-Kanemi, the son of the Kanembu Kanuri Black African father and an Arab mother. He abolished the title of May and was simply referred to as the Shehu or
And
Sheikh.
if you understand, like we talk about Shehu Uthman Dan Fodio a lot, that's the Hausa language, and that's the Hausa equivalent to the Arabic Sheikh. Go ahead.
Or Sheikh of Borno, and the dynasty he established continued despite the British colonization of northern Nigeria, after which it was granted protectorate status. Impressively, it still exists today as an emirate within the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The current Shehu of Borno is Abu Bakr ibn Umar Garbai al-Kanemi, who has ruled since 2009, inheriting a throne with a history span over 1,300 years. Continue.
Mm-hmm.
Dagbon. The kingdom of Dagbon, which is the homeland of the Dagomba ethnic group in northern Ghana, is one of the oldest traditional kingdoms in Africa. It was founded in the 11th century. Oral tradition states that the kingdom was founded by a warrior named Tahazi, who arrived in present-day northern Ghana with his cavalry men from east of Lake Chad, stopping in Zamfara, present-day northern Nigeria, and in the Mali Empire before settling in northern Ghana. The capital of this kingdom was Yendi in the northern region, and Islam entered during the reign of the king Na Luro as a result of trade with the Dioula people of Mali. Na Zangina, who ruled Dagbon between 1648 and 1677, was considered the first Muslim king of Dagbon and dedicated himself to ruling the kingdom according to Islamic principles. Following him, all the kings
So
of
I always like to relate other stuff that's going on at the time. So 1648 and 1677, many of our people were being enslaved, and the slave trade was kicking into high gear during this time. What year did America declare its independence? 1776. Right. So this is even before them. Go ahead.
Bismillah. Following him, all of the kings of Dangoma has been Muslim, and Islam remains the majority religion amongst the Dangoma people. The kingdom still exists today in Ghana, and the current king is Yana Bukali II, who was crowned as the 41st Yana on January 18th, 2019. Agadez. The Sultanate of Agadez, also known as the Tenere Sultanate of Air, was founded in 1449 by Hausa people from Nigeria as a trading post, who were later joined by Tuareg Amazigh people from North Africa.
Tuareg, they're those people who you see the men wearing veils over their face. Amazigh is the proper name for Berber people. So that's like North Africa. A lot of times, we say, oh, they Arabs. If you talk to any one of them, they are offended by that. They're like, we are not Arabs. We Amazighs, right? They're serious about that, right? So go ahead.
Bismillah. It was conquered by the Songhai Empire in 1500, and then after the fall of Songhai Empire in 1500. It was conquered by the Songhai Empire in 1500. Then after the fall of the Songhai Kingdom in 1591, the Agadez Sultanate regained its independence.
See, alhamdulillah. Just a few minutes ago, I said I didn't remember exactly what year that it fell. Right here, 1591. Alhamdulillah. Go ahead.
The Agadez Sultanate regained its independence. Their capital city, Agadez, which is currently the fifth largest city in Niger, was described by Leo Africanus, the 15th century traveler and diplomat, as a walled city built by the modern sultans near Libya, and as the city of blacks, that is the closest to the cities of whites, except Oualet or Oualata in modern day Mauritania. Its houses are well constructed in the style of Barbary because their inhabitants are almost all foreign merchants. It has very few indigenous people, and they are almost all artisans or soldiers of the Sultan. The inhabitants were mixed of Tamashek, Hausa, Arab, and Songhai. The Sultanate continued to prosper under their defeat at the hands of French colonialists in the 1900s. However, the traditional throne still exists, and the current Sultan, Omaru Ibrahim Omaru, has ruled for over 40 years as the 52nd Sultan of Air, and his capital, Agadez, has been declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
One of the things you'll notice, you like, what? These kingdoms still exist? Yeah, very ceremonial. Like, you will find that a lot of these kingdoms and emirates and empires and monarchies and all of this and all of these royal traditions were allowed to continue to exist under the colonialists, a lot of them. But they were really stripped of all real power, most of them. They exist like really in name only, whereas once upon a time they had real power. So especially in a lot of these places ruled that were colonized by the British. Some other colonialists, they try to like completely stomp out the traditional uh, culture of a lot of these people. Or like the different Europeans, they had different ways of doing things. So you see even a country be right next to each other. If one part was colonized by the French, you see a complete different type of society than the one that was colonized by the British. All right, go ahead.
Bismillah, Wade. The Wade Sultanate was an African sultanate located to the east of Lake Chad in present day Chad and the Central African Republic. It was established in 1635 by Abdul Karim al Abbasi, who traced his lineage to the Abbasid caliphs of Baghdad. He moved to Chad and managed to rally local tribes around him and married the daughter of a local king, giving him the necessary jumpstart to form his own empire. This kingdom continued to thrive until the arrival of French colonizers. They were opposed by Sultan Dud Murr. However, despite his fierce resistance, he was overthrown on June 6, 1909, after the occupation of the capital, Abeche, by French troops. Resistance continued until the last independent sultan, Asil Kolak, was captured in 1912, bringing the independence of the sultanate to an end. The sultanate was then reconstituted under French suzerainty in 1935, with Sultan Muhammad Arada becoming a vassal of French rule. The sultanate still exists today within the Republic of Chad, and its current sultan is Muhammad Arada II. He has ruled since 2005.
So you have an Islamic sultanate or emirate established in 1635. How many years ago was that? 400 and something? Stuff you don't hear about. Islam has a rich history and is not restricted to the Arabian Peninsula, North Africa, and what they call the Middle East. Continue. Futajalon.
Futajalon. The imamate of Futajalon was established by the descendants of the ancient Fulani Tukror Empire, one of the first West African peoples to practice Islam, having done so for approximately a millennium. The state was founded around 1727 by Fulani religious scholars in modern-day Guinea, after they decided to unite under the traditional ruler of Timbu, whose name was Ibrahima Musa Sembegu Ba, later known as Karamako Alpha. They appointed him.
That last name, or what they say over there, that surname, Ba, is usually an indication that the one you're talking about is Fulani. And Fulanis have many different variations of that name, depending on where you at. Like in Gambia, they call them Fula. And you know, it's modern day Guinea. And so this really connects as she continues to read this paragraph. This this emirate or imamate, as he says, Fute Jalon, which is like really the I think the southern portion of Senegal, modern day Senegal, right? It connects and is relevant to us in America. Continue.
Bismillah. They appointed him as the Al-Mami, or Imam, and established an Islamic state in the region with 9 provinces, each under the authority of a religious scholar.
Whoa. Stop right there. That's one of the things that the Fulanis are known for in Africa. They're known for 2 things: herding cattle and the deen. Sometimes you will find other Africans saying little slick stuff. They think they're the best Muslims around, right? About them, you know, they on that tribal stuff. The same way that Americans that live in cities with a gang culture, right? They on that gang stuff, right? Right. If some of them, some of them be banging real hard, right? Like if you're blood, they will not say the letter C. If they will replace every C with a B, right? And vice versa. Right. But look at this. Every region, every province was under authority of not just some tough guy, but a religious scholar. And you know what that reminds me of, Samira? Some of y'all might know him. One of my teachers, Sheikh Hamza Makbul Chowdhury, he's on Facebook. He's a excellent Maliki fiqh teacher and everything else. But in any case, right? He's one of our contemporary people who don't get along too good with boards of directors. You know, most of the masjids in this country, they adopted the corporate model, like a corporation, right? So you have the people who run the thing are the board of directors. And for most of the masajid in this country, they're like really secular, really. Be honest with you, it's really not about deen. But you have these people who run the masjid, and a lot of times, many of them don't have a scholarly bone in their body, and a lot of them don't even have an imam. They just, if there's enough Muslims around, they just get random people to give the khutbah, right? But a lot of them do hire an imam, and they make sure that they know that the imam is merely the hired help. They tell the imam what to do. The imam is not telling them what to do. See, they got it all backwards. And they don't care what you say about it. That's the way it is, and that's the way it's going to be. Most of those masters. So I was just thinking, you know, the sheikh, he volunteers at some local masjids, and he gives a khutbah there sometimes. And in the middle of his khutbah or his bayan, someone stood up and said, "Come on, man, do the salat, man. We got to go to work." Subhanallah. Right in the middle. "Come on, man, do this. We got to go." It's a dangerous situation. The person did that and got away with it. The person did that and got away with it. Our Islamic tradition in this country, I say our, now I'm talking about black folks. Once upon a time, may Allah help anyone if they try to do that in any of our masjids. And I don't care what community you talking about. I don't care if it was a so-called Salafi community or a default Wahhabi community, meaning a community that don't know that they Wahhabi, but they just, you know, right, got the Islam that reached them by default. Imam Warthuddin Muhammad community, Daughter Islam community. If y'all young, y'all probably don't even know what I'm talking about. Or any other type of community, right? Can you imagine someone standing up and interrupt the imam? Say, "Come on, man, do the slide. We gotta go to work." Can you imagine someone saying that in one of our communities? I'm laughing just thinking about what might have happened back in the day. But that made me think, right? These Jumas are getting real bad all over the place. I was telling my wife I was in an unnamed masjid, right? And I happened to be sitting in the back. I told my wife I was in the talking section of Juma. And the dude was just talking. And I'm looking at this cat. I'm like, subhanallah. One guy was talking and playing with his son. I'm assuming it is his son. And he wasn't like, shh, try to be quiet. He was playing with him. His son was running around. He playing right along with him. in Juma, in the middle of the khutbah. Other cats be talking on their phone. Other cats be, you know, how you doing, man? What's going on? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's deep what he just said. They having a conversation in the middle of the khutbah. This stuff is normal now. Like the Jumu'ah is not like sacred at all, as some of y'all said here. I'm old school. Like when it happens, when I'm giving the khutbah, I don't do what I want to do. Like for real, I just wish somebody would just snatch them up and get up out of here, and get them up out of there. Like so, I'm just saying this to. This made me think about this because during this time, the scholars were the rulers. Now we're in America, so the Muslims are not ruling at all. But at least we should have some governorship over the masajid that we control. But we don't even have that. We don't even have that. In most masajid, some of them don't even have an imam. And most of them, they don't even want the name masjid. They want Islamic Center, Muslim Association. They want that. So it's like some weird secularization of Islam. I had a name for it before. I didn't write it down. I forgot what it was. The McDonaldification of, or the Burger Kingification of Islam. Is all becoming corporate, commercial, secularized with Islamic sprinkles around it. That's what it's becoming. I had a name for it before. I had to bring a better ring to it. The Burger Kingification. Maybe I need to write that down. The Burger Kingification of Islam in America. Like Abdul Bois said, we need to have our FOI. And our masters need not to be imitating these people. You imitate these people, they don't respect their own imams. You got people that studied overseas or study wherever they study for decades, and they hire him to work at a masjid and treat him like the janitor or something. And they just say, hey, we want you to do this and tell the people this and make it sound Islamic. Go ahead, go. You can run along now, right? We don't need that. And some of us are so sick, we want that. We actually want that in our masjid. We don't want the Islamic model of leadership and governance and all that. No, we want that corporate model. A lot of us. And that's what it's going to lead to. What the thing that, baffles me really is these people that run these masjids, why don't they just start like, why they got to run a masjid? Why don't they just start like a, a cultural center or something? The the Desi, uh the Desi Community Center of whatever, right? Why you gotta mix the deen in your stuff and try to strong arm imams to water down the deen? Or like how just Stacey said, Azawi, not even that, right? Just something totally disconnected with the deen. Have a cultural thing. That's what it really is. Have something cultural. Why you gotta corrupt the deen in the process? Okay, you're a professional in this country, you got educated here, and you got money here. Why you want to use your money and your supposedly upwardly mobile status to try to squeeze the life of Islam out of the Muslims? Why don't you run over somebody else with that? Like, this stuff just irks me. But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead. The nine then formed.
Bismillah. The nine then formed the ruling council and ruled by Islamic law. Karamoko Alpha died around 1751 and was formally succeeded by Ibrahim Sori, his cousin, who
Important name, Ibrahim Sori, and you're gonna see why. Go ahead.
Ibrahim Sori, his cousin, whose son Abdul Rahman ibn Sori became famous after being captured and sold to slave traders and brought to the United States in 1788. His life story was immortalized in the 2007 movie Prince Among Slaves.
And you can see that now. I had the DVD, probably don't even work no more, but you can see that right now on YouTube. And the movie was based upon a book by the same name. And I had the book, but I think that book is missing. Go ahead.
Bismillah. The imamate extended its authority into neighboring Senegal and Gambia, but was defeated in 1896 by the French during the reign of Almami Bokar Biro. Fututoro. The imamate of Fututoro was established around 30 years after the imamate of Futudulon by Fulanis in northern Senegal under the leadership of Suleiman Bal. He managed to rule and conquer most of the Fulani speaking areas in Senegal and then passed away in 1775, after which he was succeeded by Abdul Qadir Khan or Khan.
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 This is the same one that Dr. Bilal Ware talks about in his book, The Walking Qur'an. Go ahead.
Bismillah. After which he was succeeded by Abdul Qadir Khan, who was crowned Imam al-Mami of Futa in 1776. The Fututoro Imamate demonstrated zealous opposition to the transatlantic slave trade, which was ravaging the coasts of West Africa at the time.
Many of the enslaved Muslims whose names we know come from Futa Toro and Futa Jalon. Like the one that was mentioned, Prince Abdurrahman or Amir Abdurrahman, uh, Bilali Muhammad, uh, Umar ibn Said, and others whose names are escaping me. Well, all of them came from these regions, these two regions. I see one question here. That where Jallo come from, Imam? Yes. They spell it differently depending on the family, but it's the same. It's the same word, same name. And again, that's another Fulani surname, Jallo. Whether they put the DJ or they put the D or just the J or however they spell it, it's Fulani. Go ahead.
Bismillah. Abdul Qadir Khan staunchly opposed the capture and sale of slaves in his kingdom and signed a treaty with the French that prevented them from selling the people of Fututoro into slavery. Sadly, the imamate of Fututoro, like many of his neighbors, also succumbed to the colonialist wave and was annexed by France in 1859, becoming a part of French West Africa and later the Republic of Senegal.
Alhamdulillah, we're going to stop there because, the next one is Sokoto. So, that's talking about the Shehu. So, that's going to have a whole separate one by itself next week, inshallah. We can't just skip through that. How many pages does he have for that? Just really like 2 pages. Alhamdulillah. But I'm going to expound, so love the Shehu. Alhamdulillah. So we're going to leave off for today. Alhamdulillah. Did I miss any questions? And if y'all have any questions, please type them in. I'm just looking to see if I missed anything. Go ahead, Tahira. Tahira said, may I ask a question on a series I've been watching? Go ahead. It's called Umar ibn al-Khattab. Okay, I'll wait for your question. Let me go up, see if I missed anything else. A lot of you all comment when I was talking about the masjids and stuff like that. You know the funny thing about it? A lot of people, a lot of black folks, whether they call it that or not, they're actually boycotting black masjids. A lot of black people boycott black masjids. And you go to one of these masjids, you see enough of them up in there. I think it's partly because in a black masjid, where everyone knows your name, right? You might be asked to be responsible for something. And like we run from responsibility now. So we just want to go sit quietly in the corner, say Assalamu alaikum, bust it up, and then leave real quick. That's my opinion. I could be wrong. For real? Hajja Stacey said there's a masjid in Virginia with a signal blocker. It's an idea.
I told her I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I see those titles a lot. Association, Islamic Center. Yeah, don't let that fly by you. That's done consciously. I know some masjids who they had a masjid name. They renamed themselves. They took the masjid so and so, took that off in Islamic Center, Muslim Association, or whatever. That's when people do stuff like that. It's not just like a whim. There's a logic. There's a method to the madness. Telling you, it's the Burger Kingification of Islam. All secular. We're not a community. You just come get what you want, like Walmart. So the French broke treaty, just as Jewish integration. Oh yeah. I don't even see why people waste time making treaties with these people. That's all they do is break their treaty. Like seriously, I'm not trying to be like exaggerating and blowing things out of proportion. No, man. It's these people. It's like they make treaties only to break it. You know the way I see a treaty when these people make treaties. Matter of fact, this is going to take me on another tangent. Excuse me. How many of you remember the movie The Lion of the Desert? The Lion or the Desert? The Lion or the Desert? The Lion in the Desert, whatever. Anthony Quinn. Do you remember when they got that new general Graziani and he got his people to start negotiating with Umar Mukhtar? So they kept meeting in this tent doing this negotiation. The Italians weren't trying to negotiate a peace deal. They were stalling for time. Why? Because he was going to do something revolutionary. He was going to bring tanks in the desert, but he needed time to get the tanks there and to get them off the ships and to get them in the desert. See, if he didn't have, so if he didn't do the stalling tactics and stuff like that, the Muslims could have caught him at the docks and like attacked the ships and sunk all of that stuff. But so they pretending they want to negotiate and all that. That's cap, right? They're not really trying to work nothing out. Oh, you need to see that. You need to see that. How you not see that? Man, I'm about to ask you, how long you been Muslim, man? It's one of them type of questions. That's like back in the day, if is that movie and a message. So somebody said, I never seen the message. It's like, oh, wait a minute. How long you been Muslim, right? That was like a standard movie. You had to watch that. It was almost like your iman was in question if you didn't see that movie. This brings me to another thing. When the Shehu established the Sokoto Khilafate, one of the things that he had an unveiling, and Allah had indicated to him that, okay, I know Samir, had indicated to him that his Khilafate was going to last 100 years. And he actually spoke about it. And he talked about the signs and all of that kind of stuff. And he gave instructions for his Jamaat what to do when that happens. And so, and this was like, he said this like I think in 1807 or something like that. Or 1805, I forget. Literally 100 years after he said that, the British were attacking. And so the different rulers didn't know what to do. The Khalifa didn't know what to do, taking advice. And one of the scholars basically wrote a fatwa giving Islamic guidance on what to do now that the British are trying to come and colonize us. And he basically he said, we really only got three choices here. He said, we can make a treaty with them, or we can make hijrah from them, or we can fight them. It's really boiled down to that. There's one of three things. And it's deep because he didn't just say what it is and then leave it there. He explained each one and gave his opinion on why we should or shouldn't do it. When he talked about jihad, fighting against him, he said we shouldn't do it because we're too sinful. Now, this is my words. I'm just summarizing what he said. We're too sinful. And because we're so sinful and we caught up in this dunya and all this kind of stuff, Allah is going to withhold his support and his assistance from us. And if this is the case, then it's just a matter of who's the strongest, who's the toughest, and who has the most numbers, who has the best weapons. And we can't deal with their weapons without Allah's assistance. So fighting off the table. He said, treaty, sulhi. We're so weak that if they make a treaty with us, there's nothing that's motivating them to even respect the treaty. They can break it at will. Meanwhile, they'll be living amongst us and running everything. And then our women and children and weak among us will grow up molding based upon their cultures and their way. So he said, treaties out of the question. And so he said, hijrah. And he talked about hijrah. He said, my advice is that we make hijrah. We get up out of here. Everybody. Can you imagine a whole khilafat? We're not talking about like one town. Sokoto Khilafat was big. You're talking about the equivalent of several countries all making hijrah. Obviously, everybody ain't gonna make hijrah, but tens upon tens upon tens upon tens upon tens of thousands of people made hijrah because of that. Because when that sheikh gave his opinion, the Khalifa took it and said, "This is what we're doing." So tens upon tens upon tens upon tens upon thousands of people made hijrah towards the east. Why did I digress on that? Something made me do that. I forgot why I mentioned all of that. Remind me, Samir. Oh,
We're
the
talking about the
breaking
breaking
treaties and
treaties.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The sheikh who wrote that fatwa, he said, "They ain't waste your time doing no treaty. They ain't gonna respect that." When you have a treaty with someone, you have to have something that's going to make them think twice about trying to run over you, punk you, to put it simply, right? You trying to, get your weight up, but nobody respects you. Nobody's scared. You ain't put in no work. Nobody's scared of you, right? And so you try to get people to work for you and sell drugs for you. Man, they're gonna sell the drugs and keep the money. What you gonna do? Nobody's scared of you. So it's the same way. A treaty must have mutual respect, and there has to be some fear there. Because people can respect you all day, but if they don't fear you, they run right over you. So the sheikh knew that we so weak right now that the way they come in, they're not even going to respect the treaty, whatever. That's just going to give them time to like tighten the vice grips and tighten the noose around us. So, yeah, sometimes I'll be wondering, especially we got all of this history behind us, right? It's not like leaders and rulers like they're stupid, right? They know this history, right? You can't be even if you're a bad leader, you can't be a bad leader and be stupid at the same time. You gotta be some intelligence there. And they go into treaties with people and just, I don't understand. It's above my pay grade. I'm looking for Tahira's question now. I know it's Wahhabi based, however, the feature Bilal Sumaya in the series. Have you seen it yet? Are you talking about the 30-part series that's in Arabic? And if you find it, you can find the one with the subtitles in your language. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. It's on YouTube. Yeah. Bilal's featured as a Abyssinian slave. Uh-huh. I'm assuming we talking about the same one. Yeah. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I like it. It's real good. One thing I like about it is, especially if you know a lot of the stuff and you're listening in Arabic, right? They like literally quoting, like the actors are literally quoting hadith and literally quoting what Umar literally said, word for word, and stuff like that. I like that part about it. I think the intent behind that series was because I don't know if you all know, but in the Muslim world, everybody got satellite dishes. And what these shaitanic people try to do is they try to put out all the new TV shows and stuff during Ramadan. So the Muslims don't want to go to the masjid and pray Taraweeh. They want to be at home watching TV. So I think the producers of this series said basically, hey, let's try to do some good. If people are going to not come to the masjid and they're going to come home and watch this trash, at least they can learn something about Islam. And so that's why it's in 30 parts. It's good, and they did a better job in depicting a lot of black people in there than the message, because they got Sumaya in there. She's black in that thing, but there's still a lot of other people that's whitewashed, namely Umar, right? Namely, he's whitewashed, but it ain't whitewashed as bad as the message. And in that series, you get a little bit more insight on Wahshi. He gets a lot of camera time, because like when you learn about Wahshi, through our normal English sources, you don't know too much about him. He just pops up when it's time to kill Hamza, all right? And he pops up again when he takes Shahada. Then he pops up again when he kills Musailama the liar. And that's all you know. That's it. But in that series, they give him a lot of time, and they show how basically Bilal and him was like in the same situation. Bilal became Muslim, but this person was like on some, like he had a lot of anger because he was enslaved and like a second class citizen and stuff like that. And he didn't see Islam as a solution, unlike Bilal did. Not saying that Bilal became Muslim because it was a way out of slavery. He was already Muslim as a slave. But the way they depicted Washi, he was just like blinded by uh, his lot in life in that society, and wasn't trying to hear the dawah that Bilal was trying to give him. But yeah, I think it's a good series. Tahira, the one you watching, does it have the English subtitles? The last time I saw it, last time I looked for it, I couldn't find it again with the English subtitles. Post the link in the comments, inshallah. I think I looked maybe about a year and a half ago or something like that. Now I find it with French subtitles, all types of other subtitles, but not English. Looking for any more questions. Did you hear about some clown claiming to be an archaeologist saying that Mansa Musa was a white Berber? His name is Robert Siffer. No, I didn't. I know it's not true, but I haven't seen it. Basically, you can always bet anytime something's good done by black people, somebody's always going to come along and say it's white people. Always. I mean, they made the ancient Egyptians white. They made them aliens. They made them all types of stuff just to say it wasn't black people. Because people don't understand the time period that we're living in. We're living during a time period that many people call the period of white supremacy, and people don't understand that it's not just as simple as some white people coming together and saying, okay, we supreme, we're going to run everything, and we're going to dominate everybody else. No, they actually have to convince people that they are superior or supreme. So they have to contaminate education. They have to contaminate science. They have to contaminate all aspects of human endeavor, all spheres of human endeavor, to justify why they are running things. So if something good comes out, no, it wasn't black. It was really because this white guy over here. Everything. Like, even if you look at, for example, right, religions, the so-called big three religions, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. Think about it. Let's look at Isa ibn Maryam, Jesus, the son of Mary. We know that the Christians say that he's God or the Son of God. They worship him. The Muslims say that he's a righteous prophet, a big prophet, right? The Jews say about him that some stuff so foul about him and Mary that I don't even want to repeat it. And I'm not. We all know what they say about him and his mother. But ain't it strange that you never thought about that and wonder why Christians and Jews get along so good and a lot of them have problems with Muslims? Like, do you know what they say about your God? But you cool with him? You got a problem with us? We love the one you think is God. He's a prophet to us, but we love him. If you just think about that for a minute and ponder, you will be forced to come to the conclusion that there's another religion at work here. And it ain't Christianity and it ain't Judaism. There's something else that they really worship. There's something else going on. What is it? We know what it is. Europeans came and co-opted and whitewashed Judaism. Then they came and did the same thing with Christianity. So even when you think of those religions, even if you know the truth, the imagery that comes to your mind is white. So the religion that's really linking all of these people together is what some people call the religion of white supremacy. Some people say it's a religion. And many Muslims worship in that religion, not literally, but they lobby and try to get legally classified as being white, even if they come from Africa. So there's an unspoken of religion that's really at play here. And it had nothing to do with Moses, Jesus, the Bible, the Torah has nothing to do with any of that. Because most people, if you talk bad about their God, they're ready to die and to take your life for it. Except in this case. In this case, this one calls your God this, and he calls the mother of your God that, and y'all get along just fine. We praise the one you think is God and think he's a righteous prophet, one of the big prophets and all of that kind of stuff. And 20,000 of our people will get killed. You don't even care. So what? Kill their babies and so what? So there's another religion at work there. A lot of times we have to stop paying attention to what people tell us and actually look at what's happening. That's just lip service to those religions. You're not following those religions. You're following another religion. Alhamdulillah. Let me get off my soapbox. I've talked enough. Alhamdulillah. Tomorrow, inshallah, we will resume our Sirah, and inshallah, next week we will resume Beyond Bilal, and the next chapter, next section on page 104 is talking about the Sokoto Khilafat. That's the Khilafat that Shehu Uthman bin Fodio Taqammadahu Lahu bi Rahmati Ameen established. Inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of you. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wa la asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihati wa tawassaw bil haqqi wa tawassaw bis sabr. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.